Hi leaders, this is Miss Benares and I'm going to be doing a social studies lesson with you all today. Today we're going to be learning about the Earth and its parts. Our objective for this lesson is on the screen right now. We're going to read it just like we have been in the past. I'll read it the first time and you can read it with me the second time. I can describe how the Earth is divided into parts. I can describe how the Earth is divided into parts. So our essential question while we are going through our lesson today is, what are the different ways our world is divided into parts? We're going to learn about a few different ways that our world is divided. If you have your Week 6 packet, you have our Week 2 Studies Weekly titled Our World. We're going to read through this together, and there are some practice questions and an extra worksheet for you to extend your learning at the end of this. If you have your Studies Weekly, you can take it out and read along with me. Our world. Did you know our world can be divided into parts? Earth is round like a ball. We call a ball shape a sphere. Half of a sphere is called a hemisphere. If we were to divide Earth in half from top to bottom, it would make two halves. We call these halves the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere on a globe. If we were to divide the Earth in half side to side, that would also make two halves. We call these halves the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere on a globe. So we've learned that the Earth is divided into something called hemispheres. How many hemispheres does the Earth have? Great job! The Earth has 4 hemispheres. We have an Eastern and Western Hemisphere if we divide the Earth from top to bottom, and we have a Northern and Southern Hemisphere if we divide the Earth from side to side. We're going to start at the section that says dividing lines. Did you know there are 2 invisible lines that go around the Earth? We can't see them, but they help us split the world into hemispheres. Can you find these on a globe? Take a minute and point to both of those lines that split the Earth on your paper or on the screen. The equator and prime meridian. The equator goes around the middle of Earth and separates the northern from the southern hemispheres. You can see that on the picture on the right, where it's pointing to the line going across the globe. We see the northern hemisphere on top and the southern hemisphere on the bottom. The prime meridian separates the eastern hemisphere from the western hemisphere. If you look at the picture of the globe on the left, you'll see the line going up and down dividing the Earth. That splits the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere. Which hemisphere do we live in? See if you can find the United States on this map. Continents. Our world has 7 big land masses known as continents. Can you name any of them? Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America are all continents. Do you know what continent we live on? Great job. We live in North America. Have you heard of the North Pole? There are 2 poles on Earth, the North Pole and the South Pole. What do you think the weather would be like there? Would it be really warm and sunny, or would it be really cold? If you said cold, great job. Those 2 points on the Earth are actually the farthest away from the sun, which make it really cold. Up next, we have continents and hemispheres. When you know how the world is split into parts, it is easier to learn about new places and new people. This next part is going to have you do a little activity. You can do it on your own or with somebody at home helping you out. We'll go through the instructions together to make sure you understand what you're doing. In the white box, it says, look at the globes. Identify and locate the 4 hemispheres: northern, southern, eastern, and western. On the globes, you see numbers 1 through 8. In the bottom box, for numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're going to write down if something is the northern, southern, eastern, or western hemisphere. The next part says, identify and locate the equator and prime meridian. Remember, those are the 2 lines that divide the Earth in half, going up and down and side to side. You can use the pictures on the left to help you if you need to remember which one is the equator and which one is the prime meridian. Write those answers for number 5 and 6. And last, identify and locate the north and south poles. Our last 2 numbers are 7 and 8, so you will write north and south poles on those lines. The last activity you can do just for fun is identify and locate the 7 continents. The names are already listed on your paper, so just see if you can find each of them. Remember, they are North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica. Take a minute and pause your video and fill in all of your answers. Thanks for reading along with me for our Studies Weekly today. We just learned a lot of new vocabulary about the way the Earth is divided and all of the different parts. We're going to take a moment just to do a quick vocabulary review before you do some independent practice. The first thing we're going to review is a sphere. A sphere is a 3D shape that looks like a ball. Our Earth is a sphere. The second vocabulary word is hemisphere. A hemisphere is just half of a sphere. So if we take a sphere and we cut it in half, we have 4 hemispheres in our Earth. Can you name all of them? If you need a hint, you can look at our compass rose in the top corner. The next vocabulary word is equator. The equator goes around the middle of the Earth, side to side. It separates the north and south hemispheres. Our next vocabulary word is the prime meridian. The prime meridian separates the eastern and western hemispheres of the Earth. The last word we're going to review is continent. A continent is a large landmass. There are 7 continents on our planet. Do you remember any of the names? Some of them that you might have thought are Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Europe, Antarctica, and Australia. So now it's time to extend your learning. In your Week 6 packet, you had your Studies Weekly, and there's also an extra worksheet that's called Our Globe. The activity page on the left is on the back of your Studies Weekly, where you're going to unscramble all the names of the continents and then write about which continent you would like to visit. On the Our Globe worksheet, you're going to follow all the steps to help finish the globe. You're going to have to draw the hemispheres, color the continents, and color in the oceans. Thank you for joining us for our social studies lesson today, and I hope you enjoyed learning about our Earth.